Oh, you stopped it.
Welcome to the Dream Show Live. We are happy to have you with us today.
We can't give you new toys. Honestly, you've gotten pretty good at it.
I just been playing around, trying to have a good time.
We're just gonna drop a rap album next, right?
Something like that. Just gotta,
Okay.
it's fun. I don't know.
I feel like we could.
Just dilly dallying. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, coming in hot this morning or this afternoon or whatever time it is, I feel like
It's
that you
12:26 Eastern.
live to the people. I'm suggesting an idea to you, and I'm afraid to do it, but I know we can make a rap album.
Yeah, you got the connections.
I
Down.
mean, I know we could do it. Like,
You got,
do you want to make a rap album?
I mean, truthfully,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to make a rap album. Like, absolutely, that would be
Okay, that's on the
like
docket then.
it would like that's the thing though. It's like, and I've thought about this obviously a lot in a way that was like it's more funny now than anything else. Uh, I don't have any songs or like you know what I mean. It's nothing like that. It's not like I was like, oh yeah, I want to do it, and I have like this notebook or anything. It's just a funny thing. Um, I don't know. I
I
would
mean,
it would need to be more of like a character person, like a riffraff or a somebody
that's
that's the
that's a
yeah,
play. That's a
Drake,
play.
somebody like that.
Did you say Drake? That was the greatest like stray that I think I've ever said. Like, seen like Drake out here just catching strays.
What? I could do it. He's an actor.
But yeah, I mean, to some extent, like that's all like any of this is. I mean, you
And
came up on like
they have writers, like people write the songs. And I'm not hating. Like he performs them very well and does the thing. But like he doesn't write it, he performs it.
yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and that's nothing wrong with that. But just for rap, I think a lot of us believe that the person has to be the artist of it, and they technically have had to have like lived this thing themselves. It's like you can't write a rap about something you didn't live. Or
Yeah, I saw something interesting. I guess you would be somebody I could ask this as far as in. I saw somebody comparing between rap and hip hop. What's the difference? Or do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I think what I would say, and this may not be, I don't know, right or whatever, but if I was gonna say the difference between like hip hop, I think hip hop was more focused around like the DJ,
Right.
and rap is more about the rapper, the words in the song. I think that's kind of how I see that. Now I'm sure there's a lot of hip hop with good lyricists or whatever. You know what I mean? I say that I
Right,
think
right, right.
like more genre ish is where it's like there's a DJ,
There's more focus on the beats and who's
the music
creating the sound and the
sound,
music versus
the
who's
rap,
creating the lyrical thing.
and that may be
Yeah.
backwards to some people. I don't know if that's the right thing or not. Maybe
I feel like that's fair. Like, and that's kind of
there's a
in
ton of
line with what I
crossover. You know
saw.
what I mean? There's
Yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's a lot of the same stuff in a lot of ways, but for me, it would be like that's more of a focus on the other, in that way,
Yeah.
more underground. If I was gonna say hip hop, is more like underground,
Underground. That's
I
well, I mean,
guess.
that's the point this person was making that they were saying they were talking about the fact that hip hop was not supposed to be mainstream. And so like when it
Mhm.
ends up on the like top 40, it's
Pop
not
music,
real yeah, it's not really hip hop anymore is what they're saying. They're saying
hip
like hip hop
hip
comes
hop.
from the because yeah, like I agree with that where he's throwing it out there that like, Wu-Tang Clan, that's like hip hop.
Mm,
DMX, that's rap. Like, yeah, 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 okay, I
mm,
see that. But then, like somebody said up there earlier, that like what you said is that you can't write raps about stuff you didn't live. And like from an artistic standpoint of things like that, there's tons of art out there that we've appreciated as cultures all across the globe that like it's complete fiction. It's a complete character. It's a complete thing. Why does that upset people?
I don't think it upsets people as much now, maybe as maybe it had before. I don't know, and I think it's the thing that we talk about sometimes with like if you were part of a culture, and not that I was part of a culture like that one, or that like now that I was part of like a hip hop. That's what I'm saying, you know. But like we'll pertain it to like jujitsu or fighting or something
Mm.
like that. Is like when somebody's like trying to act like they're part of it or they know
Well,
something
hell, let's talk about
or
the top news of people that everybody's mad at. What's his face, Moneyberg or whatnot. That it's like I think that what most people are most upset about is that like you came into the community and now you're at like what people consider the like top of the community, and you didn't do your time, to say is that like you didn't do that. But then his defense, he's sitting there coming out and saying, "But I did do my time. I just did my time in a short time because I spent all that time with these top level guys." So could a guy like in another art form or whatever, could you achieve that? Of like, oh, if I go in and I spend 24/7 with Dr. Dre for the next 4 years, well, am I part of the culture now?
it's a good question. But see, that's I guess the thing is this though is like you can be there, you know, but you're not on their level in
For
any
sure.
way
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so I think the thing that's getting a lot of people messed up is the black belt, and then that's the status symbol. That's the achievement
You're
award. That's a
equating
Grammy. The black
yeah.
belt's a Grammy, and they're saying that
Yeah.
this dude won a Grammy, you know, and
Hmm.
he didn't earn it and didn't, you know, like somebody just gave it to him for something or whatever, you know, for paying for the song, and he didn't really like do it. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing. It's like that's what I'm talking about with guys. Like if you're, you know, if you're a poser, is what people think or say or whatever a lot of that stuff is, then people don't respect you the same as guys who have kind of earned the thing. And you know, if they don't know, then they don't know. Right. And so I don't know how intentional it was that he got so like famous and like blown up off of it. Maybe that was part of his intent was to get like more notoriety. But I just don't think, yeah, I don't know. It's a hard comparison, but I don't know. As far as like, so I don't know. Not trying to think of how to say what I want to say. Like, maybe to take it away from the situation with him directly, but to talk
Yeah.
about one of the ideas there is visualization and like studying and spending time like you know watching film and studying and practicing with stuff like that too is really important, and it does help a lot because if you've had students before that come like to class and then they do really good or they do their best effort, you know, things in class, but then they don't think about it again until
Until
the
the
next time
next
they
time.
come to class or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. Then they haven't really retained most of the stuff or whatever. So an element of what he says is true to me as like a
Right.
possibility, you know.
Right.
And then man, what is a black belt?
That's another good question.
Like what is it? Like what is it? Everybody knows when somebody shouldn't be one,
Mm.
maybe, but
But
what
everybody
like
disagrees on what does it
what
mean?
it is, what it actually should be. There's like, you know, there's a lot of degrees to it, and no pun intended with, you know, that, but just there's all kinds of different black belt people, levels, ages, you know, skill sets that exist. And I guess the problem is the fact that it just happened fast.
Uh-huh.
Like if it would have happened 3 years from now, what would be different?
Yeah, does 6 years make a difference of your opinion of him as a black belt? Does 12 years make a difference? Because in 12 years, he's in his 40s, right? 50s or
Yeah.
something like that. So in 12 years, if he's like 54 and gets his black belt and has gone through all that and done all that, well, is he equated to a black belt now because of time? Because then all we're saying is that a black belt is just a signal of time, right?
Yeah. Now it's just a pyramid scheme.
Ooh. See? Okay.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is like people, it took, look, dude, it took me 10 or what, I don't have to look at it exactly to know it, or 10 years ish or whatever, um, to get my black belt. So I get it. I definitely, I had to earn it for sure.
Hmm.
And, blood, sweat, tears, definitely all the stuff, and it means the world to me that I did that, and to a lot of people, I don't know if they care. And it doesn't really matter if they care or not, realistically, too, at the end of the day, because nothing really changed that much when I finally did get it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. 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 You
like
got
for
the
a long
thing
time,
and
I've been beating black belts in competition for a long time, and then there have been black belts that showed up visiting or whatever from out of town in San Diego. That sometimes I would you just I'd assume they're like a blue or a purple belt, and they were black belt school owners from somewhere, but they were on vacation and yada 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 stuff like that. So that's true. But then there was also black belts that I would eat alive,
right.
when I was a purple belt in competition and stuff like that. So I've had that like knowledge for a long time that it wasn't really the belt that made somebody dangerous as much as the action stuff. So
And once you got your black belt and now that you are a black belt, how often do you find yourself in a situation where you're now the black belt on vacation and you're like, come on, purple belt?
yeah, no, definitely. As soon as and it's been that way for a while, for sure. Either way, but definitely since getting it's been a thing. And when you go visit places, it's always kind of been a thing like that. But definitely, and I get it. I got it from then. Even I knew what would be happening a lot of the time. But it still didn't matter. Because they were trying to roll. They were trying to like see what they had too, but they were also maybe out at 1 o'clock downtown walking around, or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, there's a wide range of black belt. There really is. And so like that's the thing. I'm a 42-year-old black belt. He is 40-something-year-old black belt. We could compete. We could roll, whatever. Like that, I'd probably beat him pretty easily. That he's not the only one.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So if I can beat him very easy, does that mean that they're not a black belt? Just because I
Well,
can beat him, or like if he can beat them, does that make them not a black belt? If there's a black belt out there that he could beat,
does that then make him?
and do they got to be close to his age? And do they got to be close to his weight? Like, what's the rule? Like, what level of black belt would he need to be able to beat for him to be a black belt? Or is it not needing to beat him? Is it information that he needs to have? Does he
Is
need
it a
to know?
written test?
How much does he need to know? Yeah,
Yeah.
and how can you quantify it? Is it by like
Yeah.
a test? Like people give tests or whatever. You got to know 47 whatever sweeps and
Moves and this
yeah,
and yeah. Yeah.
however, whatever. He could do that in 3 years if he's that kind of learner. If he
For
knows what
sure.
the information is, if he knows
Yeah.
what the test is, if he knows what they want him to know,
If I
then
if I can study for it,
yeah. And if that's what he's doing, then he could pass a test probably in 3 years, 5 years, something
I've
like that.
seen I've seen quite a few of these like association tests or whatever. And like when you run down the list, it's one of those things that, like, when you've trained long enough, it's like, yeah, you should know this information. But then, like we all know, the whole thing about jujitsu is that the information, it doesn't change, it cycles. And so what was on that test 10 years ago might not be a thing now, but in 10 more years or in 5 more years, it might be relevant again.
So then what's important?
Man, because I catch myself about to say what I was going to say, but it just reiterates the thing that it is time. But I think that it's more about consistent time and what are you trying to get out of it. And again, it still boils down to the ultimate question: is what is the belt? Like, what does that mean? Because, like you said, once you get it, tomorrow morning the birds still chirp. Tomorrow morning you still got to get put gas in your car. You still got to take a shower. You still got, like, everything's still normal. It doesn't change the next day. It's just like winning some big thing or like getting the thing. It's there's the thing isn't the point. And I think that's the lesson in jiu-jitsu. And I think that that's why it does at a core kind of bother people about the time thing. Is what are you gonna, because they think that that's the goal, and because it used to take so long to get to that goal, it made the journey, the value, the thing, because it took so long. And well, I'm already here. I've been here for 20 years, 15 years, whatever. But now, if I can come in and get it in 3 years, well, then you're just going to have a never ending cycle in their mind of like, oh, well, I'll just come get it in 3 years. Okay, well, now I'm going to go do this. And it makes it more hopscotchy versus the core principle
Well,
of
so
consistency.
then this is the thing though, then, right? Like in how long does it take to get the black belt? Just you tell me. If it's not 3 years and a half and 4 years or 5 years, like 10 years, is 10 years good?
I feel like that in anything, 10 years is a good marker that they have a solid grasp of the mastery of whatever it is they're doing. Because a decade is a lot of information.
Okay. And then they quit right then. How long do they have the skill?
I think that they always have the information. I think the physical skill
But
is
so
what
is the
goes away.
information what's important then? We're back to that.
Initially, yes. You have to have the information to be able to translate it into the physical, like, action. If you don't have the information, well, then you can, like we all see, you can be a phenom athlete that can do a backflip. But if you don't know how to do jujitsu, well, then any of us can take a blue belt out there and just, like, the blue belt can wreck them.
Why would a
I
blue belt wreck them?
Information.
But there is an athlete that could just beat up a blue belt without the information, right?
There is, because that is the, like, give and take on athleticism and abilities. But beat up, what do you mean by beat up? Because in
What do you
my
mean by
mind,
beat up?
beat up, I mean submit. And I don't think that there's a lot of pure athletes out there, or even, say, let's talk about like college wrestlers. I know college wrestlers that are demons in the wrestling wise, but all they're going to do is pin me down and hold me down. If I'm a if I'm aware and able to do that, I should be able to survive that. And I don't think that the blue belt will beat them necessarily if we get all the way up to that. Like, we're talking like a D1 wrestler but has no jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you have the blue belt that can handle them because of the information, but I don't necessarily think the blue belt will beat that person. But the blue belt is not a normal person against that wrestler. That wrestler could submit somebody who's just has no information. They could submit them with just the pressure and just the onslaught of the wrestling. The person will just quit. Whereas in my mind, if we're talking like, let's remove the black belt. In my mind, I feel like the blue belt is the marker of you can survive anything in that, like, realm. You should be able to keep yourself alive if somebody doesn't have all the other information that we're talking about. Because isn't that the whole sport? It's exchange of information. That's the whole art. That's the whole thing, is that we're constantly swapping back and forth techniques.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder. I just wonder what makes somebody able to get the black belt in a short amount of time and somebody else not. It's a competition
I don't
record.
know because
Seems
there's
like
multiple. It could be competition record because it is hard to say if somebody's out there, especially on like a high level competition circuit. We're not even just talking about just like you said, just a school owner that went out there. And I'm not even dogging the school owners. I'm just saying like somebody who isn't necessarily on the scene trying to compete every day. They have other things they're focused on. I feel like that if the person that's competing and gets to that black belt fast and they're at that, like, it's a different black belt when we're having that conversation too, is because I do see those black belts that have gotten theirs in like 3 years, 4 years, whatever amount of time you want to call short, is that I've seen them get it because they were competing, and like I said, they were dunking on guys that were on the international level, and so it's like, okay, well, that can be a marker, but when you talk to them and you hear them talk about the game and you hear them talk about it, and they even more so, you see them teach it, which is a whole nother skill. When you see them like try to break down what they do, to me, the marker of a good black belt in that way is not even necessarily how good you are at like beating me or beating anybody or beating somebody. It's how can you break down what you just did. If you can break it down and it's not just like just like do this thing, that's the black belt, which to me is information. Is you have enough information to where you can relay what just happened,
so
because
you don't need
most
to train
people.
for that.
Hmm, is there anyone in your mind that doesn't train that can do that? That can break it down on an intellectual level to where you understand it as somebody who trains?
At what level though?
Hmm.
Because I know
I
guys that
mean,
barely train at all, that don't have a blue belt at all, that have watched and watched and watched and watched and watched and understand what should be happening, what could be happening if this was this and that was that. Instead of this, he could have that, right? Yeah, actually, that is right because they've watched so much and they've actually seen it. Maybe it's a dad that's been at kids' classes for 6 or 7, 8 years at this point, or something like that.
yeah,
Or
I think you could see that. Yeah, I think you could say that because like that's still in line with what I'm saying on my point, is that like it's still information.
right,
That's
but
you're
then
absorbing
he's never. But
information.
did if he never trained, is
Would he
it the
be a black belt?
same?
No.
But he's got the
Could he have black
information.
belt? If he has black belt knowledge, he could have black belt knowledge. But I do think that if you keep any value in the belts and then the system, then the black belt has to be able to do a element of both.
Well, everybody's already devalued the belts. Belts don't matter.
Like, I don't disagree with you there at
Like there is
all.
no, like they've devalued it as a whole in the community, saying belts don't matter.
Yes,
There's no value in it. To say if it doesn't matter, there's no value.
yes, it can still be looked at with the aspect of it's a degree, but
Right.
a degree from Phoenix Online, whatever, is different than a degree from Stanford. No?
I mean, in in ways, like I guess if you're talking about accreditation, they're accredited.
Yeah. Well, and okay, accreditation or just in no, I mean just in social acceptance and in social, like in just the value that you give those degrees. If somebody goes, "Oh, I graduated from law school," cool. What school? And let's not pick on some school. Let's just say some random online school or community college or whatever.
Hmm.
They are completely capable. to practice the law. They're completely capable to do all the things. They may actually be smarter than anybody else. But somebody can go and get a degree from Harvard and it completely changes what you're willing to pay them, what people are willing to give them as
But does it
jobs.
make them better?
I don't know. Some people would argue
Are
no.
you really better? Is it really better as a
Some
whole?
people, yeah, depends. It depends on the information that they got. The way that I've always viewed belts and the way that I've always viewed the way it is and what I've always said to people is pay attention to the mountaintop they go to. Where is the information coming from? Pay attention to like what is the source? And if you don't like the answer you're getting, then go to the source and see if you still don't like the answer and see if it was just interpretation.
I'm okay with that. That still don't make it a black belt.
I
Because you
agreed.
can like the interpretation. I meet people all the time that like a different interpretation that's going to get them beat up or hurt or killed, but they like it better.
Yeah,
And I see
yeah,
people trying to cater to that a lot, a lot, a lot. People cater to that want, and it's really an issue a lot. Like a lot of people, we're catering to what blue belts want for a business so we can sell stuff rather than always trying to make sure that there is a real standard and accountability and skills of a sort that come with this thing that are kind of non-negotiable maybe,
yeah.
or what level of it, let's say, what level of information is it to do it, or is, again, is that's the thing, is that what are I guess it's an individual thing, and I guess that's what I'm trying to get at too, is what the black
Yeah.
belt means is different for each person, and why you
What does it
want
mean to you? Yeah.
it why you want it is one thing, but if somebody else doesn't want it for the same reason that you want it, that doesn't make their reason not valid. Now, without any uniformity to this thing, it's kind of hard to say who does and who doesn't deserve it or shouldn't have it. Because, like you said, I could go to Middle Georgia State College. I believe it's a 4-year thing, or at least it leads right into one or whatever. Or I
Yeah.
could go to a big school and I could still just get the same degree and be a college graduate and do something, whatever, without having to do that. And
Because outside the belts, like you were talking about, they've devalued the belts by saying there's no value in it or like they don't matter. Well, the same thing's happened to the college degree. Is that they've spent these years of like telling them that it was important, 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 and then now it's like, well,
now it's not, right,
it's not as important.
as important.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because all you have is school learning.
It's
That's all you
not
have.
important.
You go out there on a job site with an engineering degree to tell somebody who's building the thing how to do it. But you're
If
right, because you've been educated. They're wrong because they've been the one that's had their hands in the dirt though, and they've built the thing.
yeah, yeah,
So then that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about with some of this stuff too, because the information is right unless you get out there and there's a big rock in the way.
yeah.
Now you got to get a different plan.
Yeah, there's practical real world knowledge, and then there's the book sense. Like I've worked in multiple industries where,
And
like,
that's just, there's no one
yeah,
size fits all for this thing, and
yeah,
and that's the thing. And like I'm not trying to pick his side or take his side or whatever. Just play a little bit of devil's advocate with everybody out there as a bit of a thought experiment as somebody who wanted the black belt really, really, really bad and trained really hard for it and did a lot for it and got it, and then was like, oh man, there's a lot more after this. I wish that wasn't like some kind of end game goal, right? So you gotta make sure that you have something besides that
yeah,
as like a goal for yourself. What is the black belt gonna do for you? Like, what do you want it for? It makes you happy. Uh, Dope. That's good enough for me. That's good enough reason to do anything for me if it's just something that you want that makes you happy, right? And you go out and you earn it and you get it and you take it. Great. That's a great person to have as a black belt. Whether they ever teach, whether they want to own a school, whether they competed all the time, whatever, right? And I think takes a lot of time. And I think that's the thing that people are trying to get at is that that kind of black belt takes a bit of a relational building alongside the learning and teaching and things like that. You get to see them grow in the art, over the course of time. And how much time can you see somebody grow if you're only seeing them for this chunk, this chunk, this chunk? Because I can put on a face, for a few days at a time and get through it and act like I'm doing whatever, and then go right back to, doing whatever I was doing as soon as you leave town.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to ever say that. But then when you come back, I studied all the material, like I know it, and I can do it good enough when it's me and you in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was good enough, right? And I can talk to you about it, and I can articulate it. All those things, but it doesn't mean the same thing as somebody that's been in the room with you a lot every day, who you've had agreements and disagreements with and seen fail and succeed and all those kind of things too. That's the thing that takes the time, I think. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that holds a lot of people out more than skill or more than information, is because as a coach, that's what you're saying when you give somebody a black belt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like you're approving of them in a lot more than just their skill or just their information or just, one little thing. Like when you're giving a black belt to somebody, at least in my opinion, that's a really, really big like stamp of your approval as a person on
You're
them. You're
you're signing off.
right in a lot of ways, in a lot,
Yeah.
like on a bunch of things. Like we're just all these different things we're talking about, and
It
that's
even
why
boils down to
we need the
sometimes on
conversation.
personal levels too, like outside
Yeah,
of it. Is that you're signing off on them as a person.
right. Yeah, like that's what I mean. It's a lot more than like a business transaction thing. It's not just transactional to where it's like, yeah, man, good job on knowing all that stuff. You earned, and not that that's the way that school is or whatever in college. But
Right.
in college, if you can pass the tests, enough tests consistently long enough, you'll
Then you
get it.
did the thing.
You got to
Yeah.
get the hours in, right? They have a
Mhm.
minimum number of hours per each thing. We don't have
Mhm.
those things structured out in jujitsu yet. So there is like somewhat of a system in place. And that's why I think
Which a 4-year degree, like so 4 years is a degree. And I do think that like if people are arguing about homeboys
that's
black belt or
professional,
whatever,
right?
that's professional, but do we
Low
not
level, low
do we
level.
not consider the black belt like some guys will want to be called professor, right? Well,
Mhm.
you can't get that title without some extra school.
That's doctor.
It's you got to spend. I mean, some
Well,
doctors
that's
are
the
in
thing
school
though,
for
right? So
12
then
years.
that's a different topic too, right? If you're going to be coaching and teaching and things like that as a school owner, that's maybe a goal or a reason for a lot of people that want a black belt, so that they could have that for their ability to market themselves as an instructor to teach and not have one. Because we talked about that a lot, as in schools, and people don't have a black belt and things, just like, oh well, there's people saying whatever because I don't have a black belt. But somebody could just give you the black belt. Does that change anything except for the perception? And then if the perception is the only thing you want to change, are you a black belt?
Yeah. And look, for the most part, I completely ignore the peanut section. But I just saw somebody say something that said 365 days in 4 years is way more reliable than part five. All right. I saw where Homeboy was talking about how much he trained and whatnot. Unless you are a high level athlete with high level, and maybe he is getting a stack from somebody and he's getting everything taken all that. No one trains 365 days a year. So
Mentally,
for I feel that my whole life is jujitsu. That's all I do is jujitsu. But I'm saying that like claiming and saying that like that circumvents any of the other stuff, that like maybe I am falling into the same trap that everybody else is when it goes, wait a minute, like, like it's making me sit up in my chair when that happens. Is it like I get where the community comes from when it boils down to that. Is that like you're saying that to a group of people that like, no, 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 no. There's some degenerates out here that like literally gave up their entire life to do this. So like That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like, don't come at me about time on the mat. Like,
That's what I'm
don't.
saying. Like
Yeah.
I'm just arguing things to argue them more or less too. I'm
No.
not
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
everything that I'm
Yeah.
saying is my belief even today. That I'm playing thought experiments out to a lot of this
I
stuff
feel you.
because I think we have a and we talk about this stuff a lot. Is I think people have thoughts about that. It's like, and it's just like, is that really what it is though? Do you like and I just I like to make people think, and for me, that's some of what the black belt is in lots of ways too. Is the philosophy, the way that
Yeah.
you carry
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing too. Like, I don't need you to be like me, right? But I need you to be like me in some ways, for sure. At least like in thought and in philosophies. Maybe not move sets and move patterns as much, size and pound for pound or whatever it is and stuff like that. But definitely, there's got to be like a, I don't know, like again, it's that relational thing to where you have that like stuff there. At least for me, I feel like that. So again, I think it's a very important thing. Can you get it in that amount of time? I've not anywhere close to that done that personally as an instructor, and it didn't happen for me. And the only people I know personally that had it happen were like my coach and his brother, Gio and Boogie, and then heard of other people doing it. So like,
But do you think that even with like somebody like Gio, like Gio and Boogie personally, and like all that, and so like, and you know me, and you know that I'm not saying this from a position of like disagreeing with it because
hater.
there's no argument on their belt. But do you think that even at that level for somebody to be thrust into a black belt role is that it's more difficult? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that it's not, because they've proven to be world class black belts for a very long time after that.
Yeah.
So it's like they've proven that wrong.
Well, they were already
But
competing at that level, right? So that was the hard part for
okay,
anybody to say. That's what I'm saying. They were at the level on the mats and in competition, at a very quick, you know, time frame with that. So that's a lot of what that was. Uh, Sorry, and you can finish your question before I answer
well,
some
and like, so for them personally, though, like as far as like the other things that come with being a black belt, other than competing at that level, because they were already competing at a high level in their breakdancing and in their stuff, so they were experienced in that. It's just like taking a D1 wrestler that gets really good, but if he becomes a black belt all of a sudden, and now there's those expectations that are there, is that like it makes it, I it almost, I feel like, and this is my personal take and not really like a belief, nobody has to believe this or anything, is but like I feel like that even if you're that good as an athlete, to become a black belt at that point, it puts another weight on you that I don't necessarily think is necessary for what the goal of that phenom athlete is. If your goal is to go out and be a world champion and do all this stuff, like you don't have to have a black belt to do
right. That's true.
that.
I guess kind of going to answer what you are getting at. I don't know if that's even a question
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily, but like, I think when I got there, it was, shortly after 10th Planet San Diego had opened. So Boogie had already had his black belt for maybe 6 months or something by the time I got there. Uh, and so I was already a brown belt myself, had almost 20 pro MMA fights already at this point. So, like, I already knew a bunch of stuff, right? I'd already been in a bunch of rooms, trained with a lot of people and stuff. So, like he could beat me up. He could he could tap me out a bunch of times or whatever. There's no question about that. And he was good at all that stuff. And he could teach very well. Let's say that he taught his stuff very well and everything. But the one like thing that I would look back at now that we can see and have talked about was that he wasn't as experienced as someone being in the room like that, to where you could have a little more nuanced opinion yet. And it was a lot more just, this is how you do it. Do this as close as you can. Make it this your own way kind of thing. Instead
Yeah,
of
because they
maybe
still
going,
had the 10th planet vibe of like they were still like open to developing and seeing, so they
yeah,
were
no, that's just like, do whatever
absorbing
you
and
want to
learning
do
as they were.
within this
Yeah, yeah,
whatever. But I guess my thing was like, I had and we talked about this, like opposing strategies from being more of a classically trained guy in a jujitsu setting versus a 10th planet guy in that setting. And then so I realized later kind of that it's like that was the point of the 10th planet stuff in a way, was to counter a lot of the classical stuff intentionally. So then learning both was good because that was more of this the same thing.
More of the system.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
just the
yeah,
same thing, just there's a different way to play it. You're
yeah,
playing it from a different perspective, right? So same thing for me. As a brown belt, I was really good at what I was doing, and like I said, I've been beating black belts and different things like that. But there were guys like Richie who would mop me up, guys like PJ Barch who weren't a black
yeah,
belt yet or anything like that, that would just give me hard rolls and mop me up sometimes in 160, 70 pounds or whatever and stuff. So it's like
yeah.
there's always been levels when it came to rolling and different things like that too. But I think being more open to other people's strategies, or more strategies in general, I think it'd be the thing that time allows you to have, is because you've seen more things not work and work, rather than being so sure that this is the way,
Because
right?
this is worked at a high level. It's
This
gotta
is
work.
this is
Yeah.
it. This is what's working right. This is what's working right now. And this has
Yes.
been
Yeah,
working
yeah,
right
yeah.
now a lot. And then
That's exactly
with
my was my
time,
question.
people
Yeah.
come and they find the game that you're doing and they counter it. And so that's why the cycles are, is because whatever's happening, people are trying to, whoever number one is, someone's trying to beat them. Right. And
Yeah.
so if number one's not trying
Doing
to
this
improve,
thing.
and it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
hard to keep getting better if you're already number one, because there's nobody to chase and try to like beat necessarily. You just try to stay ahead. But then everybody starts copying the number one guy. So whatever they do becomes like the meta is, or whatever of the game. And so other stuff starts to go away, not because it's not effective, it's just because it's not fitting into the sequencing that people see as the most effective stuff. And the rules may have changed slightly over time or whatever it is, but then you'll see it come back around to where people now, are doing other stuff that they weren't doing 10 years ago. And then now coming up on 20 years, they're doing more of what we were doing at about, my blue belt period, is what it feels like now in a lot of ways, from what's working, minus the leg. A lot of the leg lock stuff's really crazy. That's never been as advanced as it is now or whatever, but like the wrestling and the get ups and different things like that mixed into it, not just sitting down and
Yeah.
staying down playing guard all the time or whatever. Guys that play guard very, very well, but also will just wrestle up, to get on top and different things like that too. They're playing more of that kind of a game in there too. I think more chokes are available these days, whether they're finishing them as a whole or not. I don't know, overall, but it feels like that's one of the turns that we're in. And I think that's what happens. Everything just goes through seasons, and the rules that are popular, or the person who's popular, kind of sets that trend, whether it's the right or wrong kind of thing. And even if somebody is the champion, what's to say, no one can be the champion. Yeah. They're like, even if somebody is like a champion, does that mean that they know everything? Does that mean that they're right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because you can beat up
Because
somebody, just because you can beat up everybody, is that the biggest, toughest, strongest dude is the right person? Then we got to change the way we do everything, right?
which, yeah.
So if only the brutes are leading the thought process, we're gonna have a pretty brutal thought process.
Yeah. And
And if
brutal
only
is
the
different.
intellectuals and if only the intellectuals are leading the process, we're gonna have a very intellectual process. And those two things clash and don't always go together as well. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
And what I see a lot. There's a really, really high level of what people say is high level, which is really intellectual. And we talked about it a little bit or whatever, where somebody's going to give you their dissertation on everything regarding, every articulation of your wrist for this movement, in the classroom setting, and everybody's just like conked out or whatever it is at the end of it,
Hmm.
versus the guy who's going to grab your hand and go over there and like put it in the right place. So you can just be like, oh,
Hmm.
right
Hmm.
there. Okay. Right. It's like, okay.
It's
So we
such like
have,
a little slight, like, yeah.
yep. And some people just need that. They just need to know where to put their hand. They don't need to know how the wrist and the pinky articulate the shoulder into the right space, because I'm so smart. And I learned that because I really am a nerd about this and I love it so much. But people don't really care sometimes.
The best example that I've seen is I saw this recently in a wrestling lesson that was being taught in a room that I was in. That like it's the light bulb, like screwing in the light bulb.
Mhm.
Like it's the best analogy that all of a sudden you see literally light bulbs pop over at people's heads when you say that because they do it and then they go, "Oh, I'm in the right position." You're like, "Uh huh."
Mhm. Yeah, it's things like that too, and so that's the thing. It's not a competition's not a knowledge contest, right?
But if
And
you don't know, you don't know,
but if you
and
don't know stuff, yeah,
yeah,
that can get you in trouble. But also, you might just be able to just avoid anything you don't know if you feel uncomfortable.
you can just get up.
It's a thing.
Yeah, that's. I had that discussion a couple weeks ago with somebody too. As far as like there are people out there that can do that and they physically can do that. But I will go back and say that I have that weekend. I rolled back to back with two guys that are like similar build, similar background, similar like all that, and one is a high level black belt, one is not. The high level black belt, I couldn't get anything going on. I could like it was a massacre. The other guy, it was rough. It was not a fun roll. I had to do a lot to keep things from happening, but I knew enough knowledge that I could hear the black belt that was his homie and his coach like telling him what to do, and I go, nope, not that, nope, not that, like, and I know what you need to do, so I won't let you do it, and that's where it does become a knowledge test. Is that if you know more than me and you're paying more attention to it, and I'm in panic mode, well then I'm gonna lose that knowledge test.
Yep, and I like that. They don't want to be saved. That's what I've noticed a lot too. Glock Woods for sure. A lot of
Yeah,
people they don't really want to be saved, and that was what
they
I
like
think.
their
Yeah, we wanted to help. A lot of us that got into coaching and teaching and different things like that was that we wanted to teach and to help and to do a lot of that kind of stuff in some ways too. But at the same time, there's some people that really, and I'm one of the people in a lot of ways that need to go out there and like touch it and feel it and do it myself. And I'll
same.
listen to, and try some of what people say and stuff like that too. But I still got to go out there and like do the thing myself and get the work in. Uh, so yeah, that's
I
that's
had
the thing too. So
I had a
you can't
former
be
boss.
everybody's teacher too. That's another thing. Just because you
It,
are good and know what you're doing, you're not everybody's teacher. You're not going to vibe. Some people come
maybe
in and
they're not
say,
ready for the lesson.
yeah,
Yeah,
or some people say the exact. That's it. Some people say the exact same thing that you're trying to say, just a different way to them, and it clicks for them because it was a way that it made sense to them, and so it's like, oh, okay, and that can be simple as what it is too. Sometimes with this, so circling all that back in or whatever on this thing is like, yeah, a black belt takes a lot if you're going to be a legit one, right? And what is legit? That's a wide range. It's a spectrum. It's kind of like the tism. I guess that's why it fits in or whatever. There's a spectrum of black belts. Some of them are very, very, very good competitively. Some of them are very, very, very good intellectually. Some are good at both. There's less of that than there are of the other two extremes. And then there's some that are just like, what's the word I guess we're using is fake or not real black belts or whatever at a low level. What level that is, I don't know. Some like maybe they're not even a blue belt level, even. I don't know what that is, but those people they gotta deal with that themselves. That's I don't know. I didn't want one early. That was for
mm,
sure. Like I wanted
yeah.
it. I
No,
wanted it as soon as I deserved it. Now, don't get me wrong.
I
Like I want,
experienced.
but I didn't want to get it so that way I would just be getting my ass tore up all the time.
Yeah, because I saw the guys that got it early that still tried to beat, like, still tried to carry the like thing,
Mm-mm.
and you're like, oh, like that's
That's when
rough.
they
Like I said,
disappear a
it
lot,
gives you all this extra like weight, all this extra target on your back. Like I mean, just being a brown belt, dude, that wanders
Mhm.
around. Like I train in different gyms all the time. Like during the week, I may train at like 4 different gyms, and being the brown belt, that's the visiting brown belt. Oh, it sucks sometimes because everybody just wants to go, oh, you're a brown belt from out of town. Let's see how my guillotine works. And you're like,
Am
man,
I
I
as
did
good? Yeah.
guillotines all day yesterday at the other gym.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's so many variables to this as a whole, right? It's just a
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it's a hobby, right? It's a sport. It's a hobby, though, for the most part. We take it all very seriously, sometimes too seriously, but it is what it is, right? People take a lot of stuff too seriously, depending on what you're passionate about. And the black belt is important. I'm not saying it's not. I think it is important too, and I think that people getting them early definitely makes it feel less important. And people saying, like I said, people do say all the time that it's not important. The belts don't matter, whatever. So that makes it not valuable then immediately. At least that's what you're saying. Even if you say you don't mean that, that's still what you said. So that's what that means. And so now you've taken away what it means. And so get it if you want it then.
Yeah, I think the lesson is shut up and go train and just have fun.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because I mean, it, if it is a time thing and you spend all your time and you do it and you're there and you spend a bunch of time there, you'll get a black belt. If it's a knowledge thing and you spend all your time and you like focus on it and you train and you study it, and guess what? Guess what? You'll get a black belt. And and to me, what is the thing that you're trying to get? Is it the physical black belt or is it the experience and the knowledge? Because I think that those two are the things that you're actually after.
This guy, dude, hold on one second. When people help you, they have the same target you have. I disagree with that too. And then villains don't need help. Villains are always in gangs. What are you talking about?
That slid off quick.
That's why I usually don't read the comments. I let you post
because villains do need help. That's why they're in
Yeah,
a gang.
they do. Exactly. Like all villain have a boss villain that they learned from that taught them the villain game in some way. Right.
I
So,
mean, they all had
but when people
guidance.
help you, they don't always have the same target that you have. Because I've helped people when I thought I was helping them, but I was not on the same target they were on. Not that either one of us was trying to do something bad. I thought we were doing something different though. And so I wasn't actually helping them the way they wanted to be helped sometimes because we weren't necessarily on the same target there. But I helped them, but I didn't maybe help them the way they needed help by accountability or other things like that, listening sometimes when I should have listened, or other various things like that too. There's lots of ways that that could work.
Yeah.
Just from finding the guy with help. Villains
I
can
didn't
reach that
understand that.
goal.
Well,
I'm gonna have to think about that to a degree, and not that it's like that deep or whatever, but everybody can reach the same goals.
yeah.
A lot of times, but what is a villain, in that way? Somebody who just does it a different way than you do. Is that what makes them a villain?
I
They
mean,
have
what's the saying that everybody's a villain in somebody's story?
right. That's what I mean. Is
Yeah.
like just you took the job I wanted. Now you're the villain in my story, but you're a really wholesome person that loves your family and does everything. You show up to work hard, and
Just
but
out
you're a
here
piece of
trying to do
shit.
the same thing that everybody else is
You
trying to
took my
do.
opportunity though, so now I'm gonna be a villain. Also,
I
so
think
now
the
we're all
definition for
villains.
me of like for somebody to actually be a
A guy who
villain, then
stands alone. Okay. A villain is a guy who
oh,
stands
okay.
alone.
I disagree with that.
So
Every
Ronan.
villain that you
Okay.
run down
I'm
through in
not even Ronan,
history
but like
is every villain you run down through history. Like you said, like they were surrounded by other people that were supporting the villain. Like goal.
except for maybe the Joker.
Nah, he had plenty of henchmen and people around him,
That's
and
true. He did have help, but
that's
I feel like
he had Harley
he
Quinn. Like
manifested
Harley
it
Quinn
though.
was the death of him, right? Like,
I guess you can manifest the help either way.
okay, well, that was a good show. Is there anything else you want to share with the people? Don't bet on yourself when you know you're gonna lose.
Man, people, be smart for real. For real, for real. Like, and listen, I understand, maybe we've been in a situation where people think none of this stuff will be found out or whatever. It's almost like, okay, here's a good take on this. It's like your grandma and your grandpa or your great whoever or whatever, and now people are doing these ancestry tests and stuff are coming out,
Yeah,
and the truth is like gonna come out in the end. Oh my god, what is that?
I'm being attacked by a Pomeranian.
It's a dog. No, I
Yeah.
forgot what we're saying. The
Anyways, don't
yes.
don't bet on yourself
Don't be out there
until
gambling
fight.
and throwing fights or throwing other things, taking prop bets. And listen, people who are betting on these things, people are throwing these things routinely in all sorts of sports. And we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I mentioned that it was probably infighting already because it had been historically part of fighting. But again, the F do I know? I've just been watching and studying this shit religiously like a moron my entire life, pre even internet and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know
Personally,
anything
it's not
about that.
surprising.
Um, People been taking dives for money or for fear of getting killed or whatever it is for a long time. People say pay the people more money, they won't do it. The guy in the NBA was making $26 million a year and was still doing it. So how much money do you need to be making to where you have enough that you won't do it? Because if you need more, you're going to always need more like that too,
Yeah,
right? So that's the thing, man. If you
yeah,
got an issue with that stuff, uh, you know, gambling problems or whatever, man, I get it. I've wasted money and lost money buying things that were frivolous and whatever, lost value, things like that in my lifetime as well, a bunch of times. So this ain't nobody preaching or whatever, but definitely if you got issues with that stuff, man, be careful. It ain't pure, even though it's legal. Everything legal ain't right.
that's true.
Let me
That's
holla
true.
at you.
Holla, holla, holla.